Welcome everyone to the Scandalous Delights. Do we have some uncoverings for you this week with our very own Jennifer Humby, Australia. Woohoo!
Thank you, Eena.
And me, thank you. And me, your host, Eena. I most of the time forget to introduce myself, but because I'm like, everyone should know me. Hello, it's my podcast. If you don't know me, get to know me. Listen to some podcasts. But these are basically conversations of possibilities and turning around everything that we might think is a problem and seeing the possibility there. So we have Jenn Humby on today with, we had a title for y'all. I have no idea who I am anymore.
Yes.
Ever felt like that? You're like, what? Who am I? But also realizing what a fun space that could be if we're willing to play it. So we wanted to play with this a bit and see what that creates on this episode, this show's conversation with Jennifer. Jennifer, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, so I'll introduce my
Scandalous Delights this week.
Scandalous Delight. Thank you for having me again. So my name's Jen. Yes, it's Jennifer, but I much prefer Jen. And I am based in South Australia, Mount Gambier. So I'm not actually in town. I'm right out near Victoria. And I have 4 autistic children. I am married and I am a facilitator of access consciousness, but I've also gone through hypnotherapy and master NLP to get me to where I am now. And in amongst all of that has been so much change, so much change, which really got us to where we are today going, I'm not even sure who I am anymore. And, what am I creating from here and what am I choosing and what's it creating for the future? So thank you.
Thank you. I love that. Yeah, it's like, it's that space where, okay, if you had to wake up every day and do the same thing and get up and like do exactly the same thing, like brush in the same way and then have your breakfast in the same way, like my usual, and we still tend to do that a little bit, but we've drilled it into ourselves for a bit. But if you actually look at it, if you had to do it like the same thing every day and day out, would life be fun for you or would it be boring?
Yeah, it would be incredibly boring.
Yeah, so this one clearly is for those people who know it's boring or who hearts of heart know it's boring, deep down know it's boring, but have been trying to pretend that it's not boring. Or those who think that they're doing normal very well, but it's not really working, because that was another title for this conversation. What if you could have a life that actually works for you? So choosing what works. So, Miss Jennifer, Miss Jen, if you would like to be called, what is not usual for you?
Well, not usual for me is actually sending my kids to school.
I like that.
Which is kind of where we came to, I'm not even sure who I am anymore, after so many years, like 9 years of having my kids at home and having my kids around every day doing all these things. And, actually just really asking myself, is this truly what I desire to be doing? Is this truly what I'd like my life to be? And actually having the, I want to say courage to change it, to actually go, hold on a minute, no, this isn't really that fun for me. This isn't really joyful for me. And this isn't really creating the future that I desire to create and know that I can create.
Which is so different because we think that there are just some things that you just have to do. Like,
you have to.
Yeah, you have to. You have to do them. and that's different for each one of us. And I've had a few conversations, and I've worked in creative with people from around the world. It's different for everyone, in every culture, in every country, in every region. So we know there are lots of points of view floating out there. You could choose one that works for you. So So what did you choose? So what did you choose with your children that's different than before?
Well, for a long time, it was very much have to be home, and I have to do everything for them, and I have to have them close, and I have to keep them out of the system, and I have to, there was lots of have to. And then, I don't know. And then one day I just went, actually, I don't really have to. Actually, I don't have to. Even, and I will even say, like, I even went home.
I love how that's
like, sure, I had kids. I got married, I had kids, but I'm like, I actually, you don't even actually have to have your kids. Like there's people.
No.
And I'm like, hold on a minute. There's all these have tos happening. What if I don't have to? What if I don't have to? Like, what else is there that I can choose?
Yeah, do you get like a sense of how much like space and choice there is and freedom there is in that? Where you're like, oh,
it was,
if I didn't have to choose anything that I've decided I have to choose, anything that I've been choosing so far, what would I like to choose? What could I choose I haven't considered?
What if it isn't, instead of drilling in that have to all the time, what if it's actually, hold on a minute, what if I don't have to? And if I don't have to, what else can I choose here? What else can I choose here? And what other possibilities are actually available to me? Because, like I kind of went, I literally could put them in foster care. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not in this 10 seconds, right? I'm not, but it's like that whole, I have to, and I love my kids. They're hilarious, but I'm just like, do you know what I mean? Like it's that have to.
Yeah.
It's like you have to. And that going to that
it's
space.
That place where you've decided you don't have choice.
Correct. Yeah. I decided I didn't have choice with it, and what I'd created it to be was what it had to be. And it was interesting because a friend of mine actually said, why don't you just play in that space for a bit of actually just not having, and it was interesting because actually allowing myself to play into that thing that seems so extreme, to think about or to, consider. Going to that space, actually, it's like it opened up the space for me to look at something else. And then I chose, actually, no, this whole homeschool mum thing isn't working for me. I'm going to put my kids in school. It's like going to that more extreme possibility, seemingly extreme, which is still a choice, and I could still choose it. And it's not, no right or wrong, but it was just going to that place of that possibility allowed me the comfort, you would say, comfort, uncomfort, of choosing to actually put my kids into school and into the system. Yeah. And then actually, so what is it for other people that seems so unchangeable?
What I love about it is like that's changeable like this. If you're willing to look at the point of view that's holding that in place,
like that, like it's happening.
It just changes. This whole different world opens up. That's been there, that is there, and you go, oh, I wasn't looking this way.
I wasn't willing to look that way, like for 9 years. And granted, when I took my kids out of school, it was a choice at the time that worked for us. But it just became this thing where I couldn't possibly choose something different.
Yeah, but it's also like if you look at the sense of what actually is true, a lot of times what occurs is when we start choosing, is that point where we go, I'm choosing this for what reason? Yep. And then you go, but sorry, it's also the willingness to go, oh, it sort of worked for you so far, and it's time to change. Like it's also recognizing what's changed that you haven't acknowledged, because like having them at home, what did that create? But that's a totally different awareness. Then you're not making any of your choices wrong, but you're like, oh, that created something. What did that create? Did that create more? Yeah, like you get the
Massively.
sense and the energy of that, like resilience and creating them for them to know who they can be.
100%. And also it hasn't been until I've stepped into this choice of them going to school that I've really started to look and acknowledge at what has been created from that period that they've been home. So
yeah,
like looking at it and going, wow, like my kids are actually really, really independent and quite confident. I'm going to say confident in speaking for themselves at the school and going, actually, no, this doesn't work for me, or this doesn't work, or we'll just do this, you know. And it's and not coming from a place of like them sort of rebelliousness as such, but you know, even if it did, but it's them just having that confidence to actually say, actually, no, that's not what we do and that's not how we do it. And you know, there's certain things that I always kind of looked at and going, wow, they're really not capable in many ways. But now I'm actually seeing on the flip side of how capable they are in so many ways that I hadn't actually been willing to acknowledge before.
Oh,
and I
which
can
is
see
yeah,
until it's actually flipped, like we've done this flip, that I'm going, wow, you know, wow, what else is there, you know? And
sorry.
Yeah, no, and also like it's not to say it hasn't come from with like challenges too, like this whole like school thing, like it's, you know, the lunches and the getting ready and the dropping off every day, like there's so much monotonous stuff. It's like, you know, it's really interesting. But that comes with choosing it. Like it's just a transition thing, and it comes with choosing it and seeing what is creating more. And you know, my kids are so happy as well. Like they love school. They love school.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say like it looks like you were choosing when you were looking at it doesn't work. It's not working anymore. It might look like as if you're just choosing for you, but your willingness to look at what's not working what's not working for you. Like
Yeah.
so how much are they choosing it? What were they choosing before and what are they choosing now?
And what it's inviting them each to. So, you know, with my four kids, like the younger two that I'm like, yep, I'm done. You're going to school, right? You're going to school. You're out, go. And it was them going that my daughter then went, Mum, I want to go to school too. So they had 2 transition days at school, and then my daughter, Mum, I want to go. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, like this, I didn't expect this, you know, she's nearly 16. And I'm like, okay, cool, let's do this. You know, let's do this. That's me sort of choosing to put the younger boys in is what opened her up to actually going, actually, you know what, I can choose this, and I'm going to choose this too. Yeah, and then the other kid, I actually said, you know what, mate, like 3 out of 4 are going, you're going to go too. But then what's turned out is even though he kind of, you know, had more nudging from me, he's loving it. He's absolutely loving it. And, you know, again, that choice of me seemingly like choosing for me and going, you know what, I'm done with this homeschool thing, what it's actually invited all of those people to. And how much does it reach? Because the impact and you know, invitation that my kids are to other kids within the school and other families or teachers and whatever else, like there's such a wave that just gets put through the world from your choices.
Yeah, I love what I love about it. It's this space where you are like, neither is right or wrong. Like either homeschooling or sending them to school, neither is right or wrong. But it's just having that choice and then choosing it and seeing what that creates, and then choosing again and see. And you have they still have choice. Like they're lucky to have you because you're being that space where it's still a choice. It's not,
Well, it is. My number three kid had a day off school today. You know, like he I'm sorry, number 1, 2, 3, 4, and he like yesterday just was not. He was not dealing. He's just reached a point where he's like, there's too much people, too many things, too much repetition because it's so different. Like my kids are so free range, and I'm like, okay, cool, mate. Like we'll have a day off today. well, we were going to do bars, but we didn't. We forgot, we didn't forget. We just got distracted doing other things. But, like, okay, cool, just a down day. Today's a down day. Like that's okay. We can do that too. So, and he's happy to go to school again tomorrow. And, it's just.
What a gift. What a gift for your children and other people to know that they have choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a totally different, that's a bit scandalous. So we're not supposed to do relationships and parenting from choice. Like, don't give them too much choice.
Not too much choice. Not too much independence and freedom.
Just one dress, one. Yeah, one dress, one career, one ice cream, one flavor.
Yeah.
One warm.
It's no vanilla here.
Exactly. Yeah. Is that really interesting? Because I've also been wondering and looking at that, like what can we truly be that actually allows others to know that they have choice and feel, and even though it might seem like a selfish choice on your behalf, how could you, mama, want to get rid of your children? But
how scandalous. The mum doesn't want to take care of kids all the time,
Yeah, but it's just an awareness of that something has changed and something else can be chosen and something else is available now that would create a different future and a different possibility.
Yeah.
And we get these all the time. Like we get these whispers and these choices that are available to us that will create something different all the time. It's just learning and strengthening that muscle to listen.
And actually the muscle to actually choose towards what you know is going to create greater. Because you can know what's going to create greater, but then go, no, like, and just like rip it in. Like, it probably took me 2 years of going, I really want to send my kids to school, to actually go, you know what, I'm done, I'm sending you to school. Like, it took a long time for me to actually really, really choose it. And
or did you choose it 2 years ago and it took a while for it to work around and things to come to a space where it was an easy choice? I mean, there were 4 other people involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of times you choose something and then you're a bit of futurist. And so you're aware of the future and you think it's now.
Yes, I'm becoming more aware of how much of a
and you go, why is it now? But it is kind of now. You've already created it, but then the question is, when is it going to show up and what's it going to look like?
Yeah, and it's true, because like, if I think about it, 2 years ago it wouldn't have been anything like it is now. Like, that 2 years and what's changed and what's transitioned for them and our life and where we are and what it is, it has been so much more ease to just transition now than it would have been a year ago or 6 months ago.
You've been transitioning all the while since you chose it.
True.
It just didn't look like how you thought it would. Yeah, I know. I find myself in these spaces and I'm like, now I've learned to go, when something shows up, I'm like, I asked for this. I remember we were the previous house. I don't know if you know the story, but maybe others don't. But before this house that we're staying in right now, the one before this, we've been here for a little over a year. We renovated the whole place, and then the house got sold when it was towards the end of renovation. And I remember we got off the call, and I was like, there's something up. So I came from my room and I, met up with my husband, and I was like, what's up? Who was that on the call? And he was like, there was a call telling us we just sold the house. And towards the end of the renovation, the thing is that you can totally make all of this wrong or right, but there was an awareness that we needed to move and start moving and start changing things. And that sort of contributes and trickle out to so much more. You can make it about the money, and you can make it about you can try and making yourself wrong, or you can go, okay, wait a minute. And I remember like telling Audrish, my husband, my partner, that, you know, that's interesting. And it just lightened up the moment I got the call. Like, oh my goodness, we can live anywhere. Where would you like to live? She's like, you have to give me a moment to take this in. So I said, okay. So he took a few moments, and then he came, and I went and I gave him that space, and I went to my room, and he came to where I was, and he was like, I totally chose this. Because like in those moments, in that space, he could perceive when he had chosen it that created this. And you kind of, if you're willing to ask for whatever is showing up in your life, what choice is creating this, you have a totally different awareness of how you choose and how you create, and not making it wrong, never judging it, but as a whole lot of awareness and a whole lot of beauty. If you're willing to acknowledge and be that space of what's actually going on.
Yeah. And actually also, how much do things show up, not how you expect them to?
Yeah, that's why my favorites go to. Like now I know, I'm like, okay, what choice is creating this? And also when I'm choosing, because you know, we keep asking for more quite a bit.
Yeah.
More and more and more. Yeah, like in
so
the
is
day,
this what
I
I'm
don't know
asking
how much
for, is this what I'm asking for, showing up differently?
Yeah, so we're constantly, whatever showing up in his life is what we're asking for. So you got to get present with what you're asking for. But the more you start becoming present, the more you start asking for those things that actually would work for you, or not. But if you could ask for things that work for you, or you could just ask for what would it take to actually live a life that works for you, or what would it take to live in a way that works. And then you start choosing things more and more, and then things move around and show up in this magical, mystical ways, and you can perceive that magic and miracle and mystery if you're not making yourself wrong, and you're not sitting in your head doing the pros and cons and the right and wrong and the good and bad. But then all this awareness. Yeah. So now when I'm choosing, really choosing something, it's about becoming present with it. And I wonder what's it for you. Like it's becoming present with it and going, okay, and that awareness of, has it already been created as a future? Okay, yes or no? Okay, yes. Okay, then what, when is it going to show up and what's it going to look like? And then go about living your life, because you don't know how it's going to show up.
Yeah, because you can't force it. You can't make it happen. You can't. And the more you try and make it happen,
it's too much work. It takes long. It's, like when you're waiting for a parcel and you just can't wait for it. It takes longer to reach.
It gets held up in customs when that happens. It gets held up in customs, and it's like there for 6 weeks.
Yeah, and when you go, I like to have that parcel here. Like, what will it take for it to show up? And you go about doing your other things. It's a totally different space for it to
and it's
find
a lot faster the more you not.
Yeah. You know how many stories I've heard, even like if for anyone who's single out there who really truly being honest about it, that they want a relationship, not just lying to themselves that they want one. Because I was like feeling so good about myself. I was like, I don't need a guy. I'm like so amazing. I love my life. Like I'm loving what I'm creating. I love my body and all that is going on. And there comes a man, there comes Audrey. So it's like, walk in. And I'm like, yeah, not really looking for long term. But yeah, it's like when you're living your life. So that's the key. Don't wait, live.
In the moment.
In the moment, yep. Because what if you could wake up every day in the morning and go, who the
heck am I today?
And why?
Grand and glorious of it just gonna. Yeah.
Yep. And then it's like, oh, children are going to school now. Okay.
And then some days like today going, my kid's not going to school today. Okay. Yeah.
Exactly. Wow. I'm loving this conversation. So, Miss Jen, if there's anything, I could go on and on, but I think we can do that after we stop the recording.
Okay.
But if you had to leave everyone with something, what would it
be? What would it be? So what is it for you in your life that you have made so solid and real and unchangeable that maybe it isn't? And what could change started to play with the possibilities that it wasn't solid, fixed and real? And truly, how much more fun can you have with it, with life?
Yeah, I love it. Because then when you're then it's just a choice. It's not like this big change. It's just a choice.
Like you have to go all out and go and do all of these things. It's just like little bits, like what little changes can you make? What little changes can you make that will build up to be the big changes that you're asking for in your life? And sometimes the changeable things that you don't think are even changeable at all.
Wow, you know what's interesting? It's like whatever that you think is not changeable, what if it's choosable?
Choosable.
Right? Like we make the change like so much bigger than ourselves, but it's just a choice. It's just a choice for choosing something different. It's just going, oh, I've been eating cereal and now I want to eat ham. I don't know. So
yeah, it doesn't mean that you have to stick with ham forever. You can choose cereal.
Just today.
Or you could just change a different cereal. Like it's just, exactly.
Or not have breakfast.
Or not.
Do I want to have breakfast? Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. I love it. Choice.
Choosing. Scandalous as it may seem.
Yep. Yes. That's one scandalous delight for you, that you have choice. Are you using it? Cool. So if anyone wanted more of Jenn Humby, where will they find you?
There's a lot more of me. Where would they find me on? So my website is www.jennhumby.com.au, and I'm on the Access website, and I'm on Facebook, and I'm around the place. I get around.
Get around. Find her. She's amazing.
You're amazing. Thank you, Eena.
Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for tuning in. And what would you like? Who would you like to see on the show? What would you like to talk about? What questions do you have? What do you have going on? That's a bit scandalous. That's a bit delightful, but you haven't seen it yet.
Love it.
Till next time. Toodaloo.
Thank you.
Thank you.